Can you hear that? That's the sound of my editing PC not working. All right, so what are we looking at here? Well, this is the power supply from my editing PC, which originally wasn't even an editing PC. It was meant to be like a gaming slash home theater PC, but because it was the most powerful one that I had, it's ended up turning into my editing computer. Anyways, this power supply is not very new. This power supply is probably like 13 years old. And I've been able to keep it running by replacing capacitors, you know, like every now and then. Actually, I've only really completely recapped it like once. And then I had to replace another cap that I'm going to show you, which is what I think the actual problem is at the moment. I have had this issue before. And basically what's happening is the PFC section of the power supply, don't touch this right here because this is really high voltage. Right now it's not powered on. I have the switches off. But we still have like, well, we wouldn't have mains here. We'd have mains at the switch down there. So basically what's trying to happen is the PFC section of the circuit here is trying to start up and it can't. So that's why we hear that sort of like a buzzing sound, and it sounds more like clattering or I don't know, like rattling than anything. It doesn't actually sound like any sort of like oscillation. Sometimes I can get it to start up if I kind of like hit the switch a few times, and then I can use the PC just fine. And after I do that, it's fine. You know, what I think is happening is because there's a bit of a load on the 5-volt standby line, that little bit of load, because of a bad capacitor, it doesn't allow this PFC section to start up properly, and that's why I have this issue. Funny thing is that sometimes if I try to measure the 5-volt standby line, it will actually kick on. It's let's see if it does it now. This should be grounded screw right here, and the 5-volt standby line is going to be the fourth one down on this connection here. It might start up. No, but there you can see that the 5-volt standby line is kind of sitting at about 3 volts, but it's fluctuating a bit. So yeah, it's okay. Now it finally stabilized. See, now it's at 5 volts, and I can actually hear that it stopped making that sound. When the supply is working normally, what happens is I flip the switch to on, and I kind of hear like this high voltage, high frequency, like kind of a ramp up, and it just kind of goes like zzz, you know, and then it's completely on, and then after that it's fine. Right now it's just not doing that. So let's remove the power supply, the board, from the rest of this casing, and I'll show you what I think the problem is. Alright, so this is the section of the power supply that we're interested in. This capacitor here, when it's normally in the case, it sits with this side up as you see it now. And these two transistors that are down here are the ones that are connected. Well, this capacitor is kind of connected in series between one pin of each of these transistors and this little toroidal transformer right there. And what I think is happening is these transistors get a bit warm, and I think because of that heat constantly like hitting the capacitor, it tends to probably dry out, and I think that's where I start having issues. So I don't know if this capacitor is the one that's bad just yet, but I'm fairly certain that it is because I have replaced this before. See, this is an NT part that I bought from the store. It is not the original. So let's pull the capacitor off the board and we'll measure its capacitance and see what it says. The last time the capacitor that was here failed, it was measuring like a really low value. So I have a feeling we're probably going to see something similar happening at this time. So let's go ahead and pull it off and we'll check. And here's the capacitor off the board now. Let's go ahead and test it and see what it says. I should probably put it in the right mode, huh? Alright, let's go to capacitance here. Okay. And well, that's a bummer. It says 45 and it's rated for 47. I don't have like a proper capacitor tester here, but I don't know. I really suspect this one to be the problem. Like I said, I've had this problem before and it ended up being this capacitor. So I think let's swap it out and see if we have any more issues with the thing. Well, check this out. So I decided to pull the other capacitor, the one that was tucked kind of back there behind that resistor and the transformer. You can see the spot there where it's supposed to go. And if we measure this one, so there we go. I'm getting on the meter here about 5, sometimes it hits about 6 microfarads. So I pulled it because I thought, well, I'm already in here. Let's just double check that one too, because it's still part of the PFC circuit. That's the PFC controller right there. So yeah, this one looks like it's kind of crapping out. And the other one, even though it doesn't measure bad per this meter, I'm going to replace it anyway since I'm already in here. And it's been a few years since I replaced these, and you know, it's held up until now that it started acting up again. But I'm going to get a couple replacements. We'll replace these, and after that I think it should be fine. I ended up going to Fry's to get these, and I luckily found what I was looking for. While I was browsing around, I also saw they had some Pi 3s in stock, so I decided to pick one of those up. But I got these now. Not exactly my first choice. I would have rather have like ordered some from like DigiCure or whatever, but then that means I gotta wait a few days, and this will get it going for now, and they should last for a while. It's not like I'm expecting to replace these like next week or something like that. So, but look at this ridiculous packaging for that tiny little thing. Oh, whatever. Before I actually put these new ones on though, I just thought we would try something real quick. I'm going to see what this waveform looks like. I think we should be able to get a decent one here from the inductor in the PFC. I tried to get one from one of the leads of that capacitor, because what I'm pretty sure is happening is that there's those two transistors that are kind of working in like a push-pull configuration. They drive this little transformer here that drives the gates on the MOSFETs that switch the inductor for the PFC. So I didn't really get anything from there, so I looped this wire around here, and then I just have that connected to the probes. It's all kind of janky, so it's not going to be like a very clean signal or anything, I don't think. But let's see what happens when we turn this on. So I have this set to capture here. When it goes positive, we're going to hit the on switch on the power supply, and I'm hoping that with the way I have it set up that it tries to continuously cycle it to power up the way it was doing. So let's see what happens. Here we go. I think it's done. Okay, maybe I should have gone longer. Let's go longer this time. Just a single. Yep, there it goes. So that's what it looks like when it's trying to power up. You can zoom in on that. On one of those. Whoops, let's move this over. So yeah, we can see that there's some switching going on there, and it looks kind of funky. You can see right there. Look at that one. So let's now that we know what that looks like, and it won't switch on, let's go ahead and replace those capacitors, and we'll see what it looks like after that. Alright, so I've got both capacitors replaced now, and as you can see, I don't have them butt up right against the board. I did leave a little bit of lead space there because, as I mentioned, some of the components around them do get pretty warm, and that way it kind of gives them a little bit of breathing room, and hopefully, I mean, it'll help them a little bit. I'm not too worried about like vibration or anything like breaking these things, because I mean, this thing is like stationary, so I don't think that's going to be a big deal, and that's the only reason why I'm doing that. So now that we've got those replaced, let's see if it fires up the way it's supposed to on the first shot, and we'll also take a shot here of the waveforms that it generates. So let's hit single on there again, and here we go. Let's hit the switch. Oh, that didn't solve the problem. Why not? Of course, it's gotta prove me wrong this time. Always happens. All right. Oh, what gives? Alright, so for whatever reason, it's not firing up just yet, but however, it did make a difference in that waveform. It's not all like wavy anymore like it was, so dang it, I guess I gotta dig in some more now. And I thought this was gonna be quick and easy. Jeez. I was ready to just replace the power supply in this thing because I had another one sitting around, but then when I looked at the wiring and the way that I have it all ran, I was like, I think I'll just try to get this power supply working for now, because you know, it was going to be easier for me to just do that than have to like rewire everything in the PC, because it's kind of a pain to get some of these pieces out of here and stuff, like some of this bracket and stuff. So man. Okay, well, just my luck. The two electrolytics that are supposed to be in those two spots right there, which are these right here, they're both 47 microfarad 50 volt caps. As you can see, they don't match because I think at one point I did replace at least one of these. So both of these, they test bad. And aside from the other two electrolytics, The only other electrolytics on the main side are those two, and then there's like one more right here. So I guess I might as well just replace all those while I'm at it. I recapped this section, like the output section, a while ago. Actually, it's only been like maybe a couple years or so since I did it. And the majority of these are like Rubicon and Nippon Chemicon caps, so I don't think I'm going to have any problem with those anytime soon. And like I said, I'm just going to have to eventually, like, you know, maybe order some more for these. Because the only problem I've really had with this power supply is just the caps going dry. I haven't had like any major, you know, other electronics like blowing or anything like that. So as long as the capacitors are happy, the power supply is generally happy. For now, I'm going to keep those there. I'm going to have to go pick up another couple of these and replace this one as well. And after that, hopefully it should be happy. So let me show you real quick what these capacitors do. So this is this is a TPO brand one. And if we click the leads to that, look at the display. It won't even settle on anything. It's probably just like fluctuating so bad that it just doesn't. Yeah, that's bad. And then the second one, this one's a Hitachi branded one. This is why I'm saying that I think these were replaced like a long time ago, because I don't think I've touched those in forever. And yeah, as you can see, it kind of almost settled like on what, like 10 micro. And it's just, yeah, it's just jumping back and forth, so it won't even settle on anything either. So yeah, those are bad. I did check the other one that was down there, the one there in the that I'm touching right there. It didn't test bad, but like I said, while I'm in here, I might as well just replace it and have this thing working for like a few more years, because, you know, every time I replace the caps, it lasts for a while. It's not like, you know, it goes out in like a month or anything like that. So it's generally happy. I'll just keep a list of, you know, what I replaced over here, and then that way I can order some better quality ones from like DigiKey or something later on when I place an order, because I'd hate to place an order for just that, you know. Even at our new place, I keep finding these freaking spiders. Getting kind of tired of finding them everywhere. And the thing is that they don't really hide, they just kind of make their webs wherever. So right now I got this kind of a portable bench that I built a while ago, just kind of sitting here against the wall, and there it is. I ended up having to go to Fry's again, pick up a couple more capacitors. The two up there I replaced, so those are two new 47 microfarad capacitors. The one down here, the 33, they didn't have in stock, so I ended up just reusing the one that I had, which doesn't test bad, and it is a Nishikon, or not a Nishikon, it's a Nippon capacitor, so I think I trust it a bit more, especially since, like I said, it doesn't test bad. So I'm just going to leave that one in circuit. I replaced those two. Those are probably the ones that I would trust a little bit less, just because they're like that Jack-On brand, and who knows, I have no idea who makes those. So like I said, eventually if this thing starts acting up again, I may have to replace them, and at that point I'll just replace all of them. So I'll probably have them on order already. The sad part is that it's taken me so long to get around to working on this, but by the time I started till like now, it's been like several days. I could have probably just ordered something from DigiKey and I would have had them by now, but whatever, we're here. And I think it should work. I'm pretty confident that it'll work, but I've been confident before and stuff doesn't work, so I don't know, it's probably not going to work now. But let's find out. Oh, another quick little thing. I'm not sure if the noise that I initially hear when I hit the power switch comes from this inductor. I'm starting to think it doesn't. Maybe it comes from the 5-volt transformer down here. This is the 5-volt standby transformer. So maybe we'll see what we get on the scope and what it looks like, and if it comes on like right away. It's not plugged in right now, so right now I can kind of touch everything, and there's no charges on any of the big capacitor over here. This one stores like 360 some volts. So yeah, there's no charge on that. And okay, so we'll see what we get on the scope, and if it doesn't really match that kind of like ramp up whine that we hear, then maybe I'll try to put that wire like around the core of the standby transformer and see what shows up on the scope. Okay, I've got the power plugged in now. I've got the scope set for a single shot here. We're gonna power it up, and hopefully we just hear the whine and then it stops. There it goes. Nice. Alright, so let's see what we've got here. Whoops. Looks like this is that initial whine that we hear when I power up the supply. And yeah, it kind of looks like it goes up, so it goes like, and then it kind of stops. It looks like it turns on for a little bit here. That's the PFC section of the power supply, and then after that it's just continuously on right there. So it looks like kind of some funky wave going on there. I don't know what that's all about. But either way, it's actually working the way it normally does, so I think this is fine. Let's put that wire around the core of the 5-volt standby transformer and see what that looks like when we capture it. Alright, now I've got a single turn there on the standby transformer, and let's see what we get now in the scope. I'm going to have to turn down the volts per division here because it's going to be probably something like super low. Alright, I've got this at 200 volts per division, or 200 millivolts per division, and see what it does. Yep, that looks pretty stable. So that's where I hit the power switch, that's where it starts up, and then it looks like it kind of ramps up a little bit, and then it drops down probably when it powers up the PFC circuit. So yep, it's gonna work now. I'm not even like questioning it. This is what I expect to happen, and then it's totally fine. Alright, so it's pretty much fine again. I mean, as good as it gets for what it is, and I didn't actually tell you guys the specs. It's an FX8150. Ooh, I can hear you cringing through the screen already. And it's got 16 gigs of RAM and an RX 480, and I mean, it gets me by with the stuff I do. The machine that I was using before this to like edit videos, it couldn't handle like the stuff, you know, that this camera puts out. Everything should be, you know, like running totally fine. Now there is one weird issue that I have with it, and I haven't been able to pinpoint if it's a thermal issue or if it's something with the power supply or what it is, because sometimes it will just shut off like for like no reason. Like it doesn't even like get a blue screen, anything like that, nothing. Sometimes I can trigger it with like a benchmark, but I've been having this one run for a while now and it hasn't shut off. But I can trigger it pretty consistently with Brutal Hero, and that's a game I've had it for a while, but I've never really been able to play it since I installed it on here, because there's like a sequence where you go through like this part where you're driving a car, and at some point in that sequence it will always shut off. Like I have not been able to get past that part, and it even corrupted the save file, so it doesn't even really work. So I haven't really played that, but most other games, like, they run totally fine. Like I can play a lot of you know, like older stuff will run mostly fine. Some of the newer stuff struggles because, like I said, it's a FX8150 RX 480, so it's not so hot with like newer stuff, but I mean it does the job, sort of. Maybe eventually I'll upgrade to something new. Originally I didn't build this to, like, you know, do video editing, but that's basically what it became, my editing machine. It was just meant to be like a set top, like home theater / gaming box, and that's basically why I have it in a horizontal case like this. I didn't use a vertical tower. So that's it for this one. I can get back to editing these videos, and I got a bunch of new stuff that I want to do now that we're in a new place, although I still have a big mess of boxes all over the place. And I'm just standing here looking at it all, just like, So, got to deal with all that, but in the meantime, I'll try to do what I can. This area where I'm currently standing right here, I'm going to put a bench right here up against the wall. There are some benches that the original owners like had built onto the wall here. I'm not too fond of them, just because they're not really going to work for like the stuff that I want to do. I mean, they do work for like holding stuff up, like you know, I was able to work on this stuff here, but it's not really going to do it for some of the other stuff I want to do. So I'm just going to rearrange things a bit, and I do have some of the benches from my old place that I'm going to put up, so hopefully we can get to some more cool projects. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do that I wanted to do previously that I never got around to, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm cutting down on now that we're, you know, down here, so hopefully I'll be able to get around to that. Some pretty cool stuff. So thanks guys for watching once again, and I'll see you guys around the bench.